BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward. What are you built to be? What are you built to become? The time is now. The time is right now. You weren't built to break. You were built to be something greater. Welcome to Season 2 of the BTB Project. I'm your host, Kollman Gearhart. I was an overweight kid, the one counted out, lost 100 pounds, found purpose in the pain, and turned my setbacks into a story worth telling. This podcast isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about identity, discipline, and comebacks. Getting up one more time and becoming who we're always meant to be. If you're ready to go deep, do the work, and live out what you're built to be, you're in the right place. Let's lock in, let's rise, and let's get to work. Welcome back to the BTB Project. I am your host, Kollman Gearhart, and we are in part 2 of the College Athlete Journey mini-series. And today I want to touch on a aspect of being a college athlete that I'm incredibly familiar with, the coaching aspect and the ability to help the athletes that I've been able to come across earn college opportunities, whether it's through scholarship, through roster positions on teams. And I believe that it's a good talking point for you to understand, as you heard in part 1, my perspective as a college athlete to now being over 20 years into being a coach, helping athletes from many different avenues of skill set, body shape, mental toughness, so on and so forth. I want to recap episode 1. Again, it was more about my journey, my perspective as a college athlete, some of the nuances that I had to experience that I think was important for me to experience to become the coach that I am today, and how I help athletes turn their dream into reality is by thinking about all of the things that I wish I had when I was developing into a college athlete, learning where some of the gaps are, honing in my craft as a coach, and becoming that coach that I wish I had growing up, that I believe players, athletes, individuals have in me when I help them. So as I mentioned, for over 2 decades, I've firsthand seen what it takes to go from high school to college athletics. Talent is one piece of the puzzle. It's not the piece of the puzzle. Remember my story. I didn't start this game of tennis until 14 years old. So I was beating a lot of people that were more talented than me, but I was able to hone in on my own craft of resiliency and leaning on those types of strengths to overcome talent. And as a coach, I've seen the same thing. Preparation, mindset. Those are the 2 main pillars that allow people to be successful in most college sports. When it comes to coaching the college athlete, it's being able to spot potential beyond talent. Not every great athlete becomes a college athlete. I've seen so many times as a high school tennis coach where I've worked with a lot of dual athletes. Maybe it's a lacrosse player playing tennis or a basketball player playing tennis. Just because they're an athlete doesn't mean that it crosses over into a sport like I played, but ultimately it is something that I take into consideration in the evaluation process of who they could potentially become. And there is an element, a baseline of athletic ability that I believe is required to compete at the highest level of college. But more importantly, what I'm looking at is character, consistency, and are they committed to their academics? One of the main first questions I ask kids that I help on the court is I ask them, what are they built to be? What are they built to become? Sometimes they'll stay within the sport. I want to be a college tennis player. I want to be a professional tennis player. I want to make my high school varsity team. Some of them will say, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a firefighter. I've heard just about everything when I ask that question, but that question is so powerful because it gives me a little bit of idea of what I'm tapping into as far as their character. What makes them tick? What's their why? A great Simon Sinek quote is, your why can overcome any how. And being able to coach within that perspective and to draw the why out of the people that I help is what I believe aligns them to be successful at the next level. Remember, as a player myself who wasn't the most naturally gifted, I was able to earn an opportunity through sheer presence and work ethic. So being able to come across athletes that have a strong why, and then I can put them in alignment to a program that coincides that why, that becomes a pretty powerful antidote for kids to accomplish their college dream. That roadmap that I create is all stemming from the goal of the individual that I want to help. It's not my goal. I'm not trying to live vicariously through any of the students that I coach. I was able to do what I wanted to do as a collegiate player. I was able to accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish and ride off into the sunset. So I'm always focused as a coach on that player's goal. As I'm working that roadmap based off of the player's goal, I want to make sure I'm very clear about the importance of building a potential or rising college athlete. Most college coaches that I talk to don't just recruit the athlete, they're recruiting the person. So I've already talked about the word character, but essentially there's this word that's been thrown around called glue guys. There are coaches that will bring very specific people into their college programs, knowing that they could be a leader, knowing that they could help with team camaraderie, knowing that they have the resiliency and the ability to, outside of what their talent is, that they can bring it on any day, any environment to keep that team intact as things get tough. It's no different than what we see in our armed forces or the military. You're trying to establish a team that's willing to go to battle together. And you have to have people that have either voices or presence that keeps that team in line as a peer, not just the coach keeping the team in line. Someone that's able to stay on top of their grades, someone that's able to control their attitude, control their controllables, are often things that I can't teach, no matter how much I'm trying to help someone. That's why it's so important for me to ask the open-ended question up front of understanding someone's why, because that gives me the compass of how I will coach them to accomplish their goal. And in some cases, if they're not checking that character box, if they're not checking that resiliency box, sometimes it's just not the right fit. And I'll happily shake hands with people and tell them, I appreciate the opportunity to help you, but there's not much I can do. Because from my own experience as a college athlete, that's what you have to lean on the most when things get tough. Outside of helping my clients hone in their skill set and how to become more mentally tough, I'm also helping them learn how to communicate with college coaches, with opportunities that they have presented to them, whether it's through social messaging and sending them an Instagram DM, the email process, making sure that everything is personalized, making sure that they're showing up to the correct showcases so that coaches can get eyes on them, coaches can have conversations with them, making sure that they're visible. It's astonishing for me to see how powerful social media is. And these coaches of programs are on there all the time. So, yeah, if you want to be a college athlete and have Instagram and your Instagram is filled with a bunch of nonsense or things that are going to detract or make you look in a different light than what you're projecting when you're talking to coaches, it will absolutely come back and bite you in the behind. So I'm making sure I'm taking time to help kids understand how to communicate, how to actively listen, how to actively ask the right open-ended questions so that they're positioning themselves to, yes, it's always great to be recruited and being asked to be a part of someone's program, but it's a two-way street. As the athlete, are you doing your due diligence to get to know the coach, to get to know the program, to get to know the team, to make sure it's the right fit for you? Very important that you're not missing that step. Always make sure you keep that perspective. I remember one of the great stories with one of the people I had on the podcast who was being heavily recruited for tennis. And he was also a track athlete. And he was being recruited by about 5 or 6 different schools. It makes me think of this complete package element because he was being recruited for the sport of tennis, but the coach that was really eager to talk to him, it was from the University of Oregon, ends up showing up at one of his high school track meets, watches him race unrelated to the sport he was recruiting him for, just to see how he handled himself. What was his composure like in track? What was his cadences or nuances or body language, whether it was going to be a good race or a bad race? That to me is a unbelievable skill set as a coach because it really allows you to tap into getting to know these players more than just what they're going to provide in the sport. I mean, these are human beings. And as a coach, that's what I want to lead with. I want to be able to develop the character side, to develop these young men and women to become incredible contributors to society. Because a lot of the things we learn through sports are 100% compatible with what you're doing in your life. I want to make sure that how they carry themselves in a sport is exactly how they carry themselves when they go get that first job, when they go create their own business, when they're approaching their classwork, and so on and so forth. The character piece is something that I've brought up often in this podcast, but I cannot stress to you how important that is. And this also stems a lot from where these athletes are coming from. What does their household look like? I spent a lot of time guiding families through the process of becoming a college athlete because there's a lot of collaboration and teamwork that has to happen to coincide for the ideal outcome of becoming a college athlete. Parents play a huge role in this, sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. As a coach, I'm always looking to see if once I'm establishing a why with my client, does that why coincide with the parents' values? Does that why coincide with making sure that the entire family's on board? Both mom and dad are on board with the why, that the why's been heard by the parents. Because if there's ever a disconnect there, no matter what you do as a coach, there's always going to be a stopgap if you aren't on the same page with the parents. So having that unison, having that togetherness, having that group and support system around the athlete, that's what makes the most incredible college athletes, is making sure that their parents are playing a significant role. I've used a lot of sit down conversations, road mapping of what the development will look like to help clients, doing that in front of the parents. When we're talking about how kids are going to be communicating with coaches, doing that in front of the parents. When we're talking about opportunities of improvement and doing quarterly check ins and making sure that the parents are on the same page with the development of what I'm doing to help their child, we're always communicating, always on the same page, because there are very strict recruiting timelines, and being able to meet those timelines with a program that coincides with the goal, with the program that shows progression and a measuring stick of what to improve, what not to improve, will maintain that alignment to not only help the kid develop, but also be able to allow them to communicate well with coaches, to have realistic opportunities be presented to them, because the program is communicated amongst several different platforms through the support system of family. I remember a time I was working with a family that was incredibly confused about some of the recruiting process, and having that sit down of clarity, making sure that I'm helping them land their child to the right coach, the right program, based off of the coinciding goal, based off of the academics that they're looking to achieve. It's always amazing to hear a parent's concerns over the first 15, 20 minutes of a conversation about a recruiting process. But the ideal athletes at the end of that, their parents, go from asking questions to understanding the holistic approach to developing athletes. And the holistic approach is key, not just honing in their crafts, but who are they with their diet? Who are they with their fitness? Who are they with their recovery? Who are they with the ability to overcome injury? Developing that mental resiliency. So, what are some of the differentiators for college athletes that I've coached that allow them to earn opportunities rather than them coming up short or not getting the call back from a coach? What are some of the things that make these individuals stand out? Well, it might sound similar to what you heard in episode one, but the big three that come to mind are coachability, discipline, and resilience. Are they coachable? Are they able to listen and adapt and adjust to meet the need of a team? They're not a know it all. They might come with some suggestions. They might be curious. I absolutely love that. But more importantly, they are asking questions based off of knowing that there's a respect level for the coach and that coach can help them get to where they want to go. And through that trust and rapport that's being built to allow them to be coached, then they're willing to tap into that discipline. They respect you enough to consistently work across sessions day in and day out. And more importantly, it's when you're not with that student, it's what they're doing when no one's watching is when they get really good. I always say for every hour that I'm with a client, it's what you do for an hour when I'm not watching is when it magnifies the hour together. So are you compounding? Are you taking the situations that you're experiencing and making the best of them as you're being coached towards your goal? And then that word resilience, bouncing back from setbacks or losses. You are going to hit roadblocks on your road to being a college athlete. I've seen kids crack and absolutely lose it because of the most minuscule things that shouldn't be a roadblock to their success. But for every hour you spend or 10 minutes you spend thinking about what should happen or what could happen or coming up short, all of those types of things, you're setting yourself back. Not only that amount of time, but additional amount of time, because then when you approach your training, you're approaching it with a negative mindset. Are you taking the time to trust and believe in your ability to be resilient no matter what's thrown at you, no matter what obstacle, you're able to break through and overcome it? I want to walk through some core takeaways about the importance of my perspective as a coach with a college athlete. Talent will get you noticed. There's no question about that. But it's your preparation, it's your character and persistence is what will get you recruited, is what will get coaches to submit an offer to you, will get coaches to say, come join my team. Because those attributes are something that they can't teach, but they desperately want in their program. Remember, this journey isn't just about athletics. This is about life lessons that carry into every facet of who you are. Remember the initial question I ask anybody that I'm trying to help. What are you built to be? What are you built to become? And understanding that strong why and what makes them tick will overcome any how that they face on their college athletic journey. Listen, episode 3 is coming up. I'll share what it takes to flip the role to where now I'm a parent of a college athlete. My son just went away to college a couple weeks ago. He's a Division I cross country and track runner. He's in the trenches right now. I've been so fortunate, my wife and I, to be able to watch him progress to this point to being a college athlete, going from coach to parent and supporting my own son through the process is something that I want to tap into that will help you on your college athlete journey. If this episode impacted you, do me a favor and like and subscribe to the BTB Project. Better yet, send this message to a family member, friend, or colleague. And give them some perspectives about what you wish you had as a coach or what you have had as a coach that have helped you to accomplish what you've accomplished as a college athlete, or more importantly, what you've accomplished in your life. As always, I'm proud of each and every one of you. And until next time, take care.